It is Running African. Thank you so much for joining us. It's March 21. Today is being observed as International Day for Racial Discrimination, International Day Against Racial Discrimination. Also, it's World Poetry Day, and we're stopping for a minute to pay attention. I'm going to be joined in this segment of the program by my sister friend, Jean Binta Breeze. She's performed around the world. She needs hardly any introduction to this space. She's known internationally, globally, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, Southeast Asia, Africa. She's been called one of the most important, influential performance poets of recent years. Of course, she's a Jamaican storyteller, a Jamaican poet, a Jamaican dub poet. She has also worked as a theatre director, choreographer, and actor, and a teacher. She joins us this morning in the space to talk about the World Poetry Day, but also to focus a little bit on poetry in a pandemic. Good morning, Binta. Greetings. We're starting a little late.
Good morning, Carol. Greetings to you, my sister.
How are you doing, my sister friend?
My dear, still on my veranda.
Ah, but it's a beautiful view.
Yes. And a great place to be in the time of COVID.
I know. I can just feel the sea breeze just wafting in your face there right now. It must be beautiful. Jean, Binta, my sister, here we are on this World Poetry Day, but it is also World Day, International Day Against Racial Discrimination. In the UK, yesterday we had anti-racism campaigners in Windrush Square, and they gathered in Brixton Windrush Square as part of an International Day of Action to mark the United Nations Anti-Racism Day. They were standing up to racism there in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes.
On this World Poetry Day, let us situate poetry in the middle of this pandemic, because I think it is important for us to point to that. I know people who aren't even poets, who are writing who don't identify as poets, put it that way, but have in the past year written some beautiful pieces as they wait this out. From your own perspective, how important is poetry to a time like this, a time of lockdown, of pandemic?
Well, like you said, there are people who don't identify themselves as poets.
Yes.
Who are writing it, and I think that is what is good about it.
Yes.
Is that people have found a space where they can explore their inner thoughts and do things that they haven't really concentrated on doing before.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, for me, I'm kind of like, I've always been writing poetry.
Yes.
But since COVID, I'm so tied up with whether my oxygen is working, whether there's a power cut, whether anybody's coming into the yard without a mask, and I haven't written a thing.
But it makes sense to me, though. It makes sense that people are finding their inner poets, while poets who are always writing are just watching this for now. But I know, Eugene, I know that there's a poem in the making in the back of your head.
But I tend not to be opportunistic. I tend to live with things for a long time.
Yes.
And then, like, in 2 months, I write a book.
Exactly.
But that maybe in 5 years' time.
Yes, because the seed is planted and you just stayed. You go through the 9 months pregnancy, and then give birth. But for those who are writing, though, I'm talking to us about what does poetry do to calm the mind. We talk a lot about depression, we talk a lot about anxiety, and so on. What does writing on a whole do and how can it assist in just?
Well, I think the great thing about writing is that it is something you can do completely on your own with very little, a pen and paper.
Yes.
Very little. You just need yourself. You don't have to be in any space in particular. And you can create something that makes you feel, oh my God, I just created this.
Yes.
And that is a great feeling to have for anybody with their self-esteem and with their presence in the world. They can speak to the world. They can do just on the private space of themselves and dependent on themselves alone. And that is a great thing about poetry.
And then on the other hand, is to there are persons who might feel hesitant. There is this need because it's catharsis in a way. So there's this need. You feel this need to write, but you're thinking, I'm not a poet. What would you say to those persons who are sitting in this?
I don't think that is the case anymore in the world, my dear.
Yes, true.
Especially in Jamaica since the advent of dub poetry.
Yes.
Everybody knows that they can write a poem.
Brilliant.
Because they're hearing poems that sound like how they would say it.
Yes, yes.
And this is just something that masters of poetry, T.S. Eliot, Ezra Pound, all the great masters of literature have always said, a poem should sound like how you would say it.
Yes.
When you listen to a poem, you should be able to recognize yourself speaking.
Yes, yes. So in that way, there are there's those who will write and those who feel a need to write who can just get up and do that. It can be catharsis for many through this pandemic. There's also the other hand now of poetry available to listen to and to read. How important do you think it is to tap into to some of that to help us through this period?
Well, I think the listen to is the key to it, and that's where radio shows like yours come in, my dear. And just radio as a medium.
Yes, yes.
Because to listen to poetry is a great, relaxing, beautifully relaxing thing. In England there were so many poetry shows. There was Poetry Please, there was, I can't remember all the names of them, but there were several poetry shows on radio.
Yes.
And then they would have a pick of the week and say the best poetry show for the week. And So, I know Ari used to do a lot of spoken word. I don't hear that much of it anymore. But I think radio in Jamaica could do a lot more for poetry. And this is what I hope that one of our poet laureates will do. Yes. Mervyn did it with the press. Mervyn did it with the Gleaner. There were always poems coming out in the Gleaner during his tenure.
That's true. I noted that.
And it would be lovely if we had that on radio. If one of the poet laureates could start a radio thing.
Yes.
Where like once a week they just read out all the poems that Jamaicans had written during that space in time. It would be great.
And it's interesting because our new poet laureate is Olive Senior.
Yes.
And
congratulations,
Olive. And she has written poems, pandemic poems, I think it's called, that she has written. So she's got a few. And I noted that she was writing those, she was, those are published before they were published because she was sharing those on the social media during the year. Which was good. I read quite a few of them as she shared them on the social media. So it would be good. We tried to get her on the program this morning, but we couldn't get to her.
She's doing a talk this afternoon.
Yeah, she's going to do a talk this afternoon at the National Library of Jamaica.
Yes.
That is going to be live. So we'll talk about it later. It's going to be streamed live. So I'll give you information, our listeners information on that later. It's 1:00 today. But so you're saying that it would be good if say Olive Senior, because she's now the poet laureate, she's going to be so until 2024, could incorporate as Mervyn did with the press.
Yes, something on radio that people can listen to. That gets as popular as Dulcinea.
Yes. Yes, you remember Dulcinea? Listen, stop aging us because the young ones asking Dulce, ooh.
What about Portia Faces Life?
Who is that? No, I don't know that. Portia.
Exactly.
You got me with that one. But it's interesting though, because we used to sit on the veranda, as you're on the veranda now. In the evening, I remember Dulcimina coming late in the evening when the time was kind of darkish. So I don't know what time it used to come, but we sat down with our parents because Dulcimina don't miss them. And I don't remember any of the characters, but I do remember Dulcimina. And it was very, very popular. When I was growing up as a child, and you're saying that you see this happening with poetry in Jamaica, something that can be as far-reaching and effective as Dulcimina was in bringing families together.
Yeah, Yeah, man. The radio is key for poetry, I think.
Yeah.
That you can just listen, you can just turn on your radio and hear some poetry.
Yes.
And I think, Jamaica, there's so many emerging dub poets in particular who are creating for sound rather than for the page.
Exactly, that is true.
And radio would be a great medium for them.
Yeah, and also, I find that your poems, for example, and I've said this to you many times, that when I listen to your poems, them take me all over the place. And last week was your birthday. Once again, happy solar return. And
thank you.
Related, we said that to you last week here, but we played Ordinary Morning.
Yes.
And as well as Confusion. But the thing about Ordinary Morning is that it really is a good poem for the pandemic. It's a good poem for now because it speaks, and then the longevity of this poem. Because when did you write it?
That was 1985 or 6.
See, it's a good while now, and
yes.
And to think of it, when I played it on Sunday, I didn't play it with that in mind. But as I listened to it, I said to myself, oh, wow, it's one of those poems that we can all relate to right now as we go through this pandemic. Because sometimes you just don't know why, but you just bawl. I would like to.
Do I have time to read a little poem for you?
Yes, but you want.
It's the poem that has taken me through this pandemic because my children bought me a smartphone a couple Christmases ago.
And
what I have been doing since I can't see them, one is in London, one is in Kingston. None of them want to come and bring COVID into this house because it's 3 elders.
Right.
So everything is done by WhatsApp.
Wow, what a thing,
and
what a thing.
And my grandchildren are in Durham in North England, and my son and his wife, everybody's away.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been living by my WhatsApp video call.
Yes.
And what I do as well is my writing has become little messages of hope to my children and grandchildren.
Look at that. On this World Poetry Day, we're speaking with one of the greatest poets out of Jamaica, our sister Jean Binta Breeze. Jean Binta, you were saying to us that so you find that you're writing little notes to your children, and this is interesting because really and truly you talk about a time when children are staying away from parents. You are physically apart, but people are finding ways of coming together, using what they have. And you talk about WhatsApp being your friend, literally in this time, to keep in touch with your children. So go ahead with your poem, Binta.
This is called Presents. We opened our presents on the veranda, having just arrived back from Christmas morning carol service and set the breadfruits to roast for breakfast. My daughter hands me a package, which is obviously a bottle. And I'm full of depression. Oh, no, not a bottle of rum or some other spirit. Didn't I tell them what the doctor said? But I must look cheerful. So I smiled and opened it. It is ginger wine. Well, at least it is weak enough to finish in a day. I said a big thank you. She slides the box across the table and says, Mom, open that for me. I do as she asked. No longer interested in presents. It is a phone. Switch it on, she says. Her husband smiles beside her. And in that one touch, they have moved me into the 21st century. I, the technophobe, no computer, no internet, no Facebook page, one little cheap plastic phone, just learned to send a text. Yes, I switched it on. And on the screen is a picture of my 3 children. Just touch it once, she says. I do. And opened up a world of internet and Skype and WhatsApp and Zoom. I opened up a world across the world of continuous conversations conducted from my veranda across the Atlantic, the Pacific. I watch my grandchildren play halfway across the world at the touch of a screen. My daughter has set up everything I need at a touch. I never knew it could be so easy. It is a smartphone, Mom, she says. Just touch, Mom. Don't be afraid to touch.
It's brilliant, as usual. It is brilliant. It is brilliant. Wow. I love that. It's a smartphone. Don't be afraid to touch. So can we expect to see you on Facebook and so on now, Binto?
What was that?
Can we expect to see you now on Facebook? And
No, I don't. I just went to Instagram. I'm on Instagram now.
Well, you've gone far. But Zoom, you discovered Zoom.
Yes, I've got Zoom up. You know, that's the other thing talking about poetry.
Yes.
Because, you know, the Jamaica Poetry Festival, I was using Zoom for the first time.
Yes, I remember
that. And when
that.
I was to start, I didn't realize I had another phone following the show.
Mm-hmm.
And the phone I was going to speak on. And nobody said turn off the other phone. And then the lag was so bad that they cut off my Zoom live and put on a recording that I had made just in case the internet was down.
I recall that because I did write to you to ask you what happened. Yes,
so
I recall.
That was my first ever Zoom, and I was so disappointed in myself in the whole thing. And then somebody called me from London with another one, but that worked. That was brilliant. I managed to tune in, recite, zoomed all the way across, and I've been doing Zoom. And then my daughter in London has set up a Zoom account, so we have family meetings each week on Zoom.
Right, and you see, and this is one way, even as we on this World Poetry Day, that families are getting together, that poetry events are happening. I have done so many poetry events via Zoom. Poetry events that I would not have been able to go to because they're all over the world. And
somebody like me who is stuck on 18 hours of oxygen a day on the veranda, you know, Zoom is important.
It is important, and so this is another way that the digital technologies really, and the convergence of the digital technologies really assisting in bringing people together. I was having a conversation with my daughter yesterday, and she's 12 years old, and we were talking about, she brought it up actually to say, from last year, she went back to last year, March, to say exactly 1 year ago, she said January and February, people were talking about their New Year's resolution and what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, and then all of a sudden, all of that is gone through the window. So we had a conversation about that, and how we're managing to keep in touch now with each other. And then we went on to talk about, but what would happen if the digital technologies, the next time there is a pandemic, if the digital technologies fail? And so I said,
my God, yes.
I said to her, we all have to get bicycles because we have to prepare. So I'm going to write a poem called "We All Have to Get Bicycles."
Yes.
It's interesting. So what does this day mean for you, Binta, World Poetry Day? I mean, how do you do?
It's a funny day for me because I never heard of World Poetry Day until I came home to Jamaica, because in England, we celebrate National Poetry Day on the 8th of October.
I know, yes, true. Yes.
So we're now on National Poetry Day in Europe, there was...
Right, yes, we know you had a cough there.
Did not work on that day.
Yes.
Every poet would work on National Poetry Day.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay. So
World Poetry Day now in Jamaica, I haven't heard of one poetry show.
And the only thing that we've heard about, as a matter of fact, it's today is what's happening with the National Library of Jamaica.
Yes, with all its yes, that's right.
Well, my Poetry, Wine and Cheese, which was lined up for this year, had to be cancelled, and because of not necessarily COVID, but because of the passing of my dad, so we had to pull back on Poetry, Wine and Cheese.
I'm so sorry to have heard that.
Oh, thank you so much.
I hope you're bearing up, my girl.
We're taking one day at a time, my sister. I mean,
I know how close your father was to you. You know.
Yes, he is really. And this is another thing, and how on this World Poetry Day, I've so many poems that I've written about my father, and I did not realize that I had all these poems about my father.
Can I say a poem for you, for your father?
Yes, thank you so much.
You left me on a day of doubt. For once your sunshine answers did not cut through my clouds. I sent my love upstairs, did not dare come. from the passing, I could smell the smell of cedar and hard changes, the smell you find in families and friends. And even now, I am not struck by absence. You filled your time so well, as drop from the overflow could quench a thirsty mind for years to come.
Thank you so much. That is a poem.
I wrote that for C.L.R. James when he passed away.
I feel every single word of that from the cedar right down. I feel every single word of that. Thank you so much, my sister Binta. I mean, that's a beautiful poem for my dad. I'm going to have to pull this and hopefully play it when the government allows us to bury my father, because right now we don't even know what's happening. We're hearing that Andrew Holness is going to speak this evening at 5 o'clock.
I can't wait to see what he has in mind for us.
Right, at 5 o'clock this evening. So we'll wait for that. So so you're saying that outside of England, it's October, that's National Poetry Day, that you didn't even realize that until you returned to Jamaica that it was a World Poetry Day on March 21.
That's right.
And for this time now, though, Binta, as we wrap up the conversation, and I want to play Ordinary Morning, what would you want to see outside of what we talked about with radio and the Poet Laureate, but how would you want to see, from a national perspective, poetry being recognized or dealt with in Jamaica? Are you comfortable? Are you are you disappointed? Would you like to see more being done?
I think somehow the West seems a bit far away from everything. Being out here in Hanover, you hear of things happening in Kingston quite a lot, as you do with any rural thing. Kingston is it?
Yes.
And then Tapura has this poem in Port Antonio.
Yes.
And Jesus has Mandeville but when you come to Western Jamaica, there is nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I am so sorry that I'm not physically capable of doing it, you know? But I just wish, again, Mervyn Morris, when he was Poet Laureate, he managed to reach the West.
Yes, he did.
So I'm hoping again that more things can be planned for the West, and we don't just have to stay being the Republic of the West.
Well, I make a shout out to our sister Olive Senior, Poet Laureate of Jamaica, 2021 to 2024. Our sister Binta is calling out for more poetry in the West, Sister Olive. So, and once again, it's in your lap. But also to the Ministry of Culture. They have been doing a pretty good job so far, but they can do much more regarding poetry.
I think the way Jamaicans have fallen in love and taken up with dub poetry, that more should be done with it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I think most of the people writing, I've just started a poetry competition at my old school, Rockies, and it's in its second year now. And the writing that's coming out of those, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th graders is really very good. In fact, the person who won it last year won one of the prizes that Lorna Goodison did in her last year.
Yes.
So it's very good poetry coming out of Rockies, you know?
Yes.
So that is something I have started here in the West. But I can't do, I would love to see presentations once COVID goes. To see gatherings for poetry, you know? Yes,
and I think we'll see more of that. One of the things we noticed with the performer at the Biden inauguration is that I think because of her age, so that and the way she presented that piece, that there was this upsurge and this surge, really, renewal in spoken word poetry and dub poetry, as you say.
And now she's Poet Laureate for America.
Yes. So it will be good to see more coming out of the high schools, out of the primary schools, even out of the kindergarten level, to have our children writing and to acknowledge them. You know, I remember writing in school, and one of the things that St. Mary High School did for me, and let me start first of all with mentorship in the way that you're doing, Binta, and to say good morning to Timothy Bailey. who is a poet himself, who has written a whole lot, who lived in Canada for a long time, but came from my community. And when he returned to Jamaica from Canada, one of the things that he did was to reach out to me because he heard I was writing poetry. And I was a young girl. I wasn't more than 10, 11. And he reached out to me and he mentored me along the way, you know. And so that was the first thing. So my first publication was done under his mentorship. So that when I was 16, I was publishing my first book then through high school.
Very good, very good.
But and so that mentorship is important, I think, and critical, even on this, as we talk about observing World Poetry Day. If it wasn't, I was writing poetry, but I think that mentorship literally guided me into places I would not have gone. How important is mentorship, Binta?
It is very important. I mean, I was very lucky. I fell into the arms of Dennis Scott.
Yes.
When I went to drama school.
Mm-hmm.
When I only knew I had the urge to write seriously.
Yes.
Having written in high school.
Oh.
And then Mervyn was leaving the country and sent me to Mervyn Morris.
We have something in common. Can I tell you what it is?
Yeah?
But Timothy sent me to Mervyn Morris, and I sent my poems to Mervyn Morris and asked him to speak at the book launch, and he wrote back to say he couldn't make the book launch, but he will edit the poems, and he edited the poems,
nice.
and I remind him of that all the time. It's good to have people like that in spaces, don't it?
I was very lucky, very lucky.
Yes. Wow, I didn't know we had that connection. But, you know, there's another thing with mentorship in that even if I think that you feel as if you are not able to, that there is this person in the space who knows, who has been through it, who is there to say, do not give up. And I think that is also another element of mentorship that is critical. Yeah.
Yes.
Would you're doing that through overseas? What would be your advice to other established writers, critical writers like yourself, in different communities across Jamaica? What would you say to them in terms of mentorship?
Well, if you can find a kind of formalized way of dealing with it, because it's very difficult to ask people to just send you their work.
Yes.
You know, so if you could find a formal way of developing it, you know, where you can control how much you have to deal with your own writing, you know?
Yes. Look out for the youth, please. Thank you so much, Binta. I really, really appreciate talking to you as usual.
I'm sorry about my voice.
No, well, listen, man, we've been talking and we've been shouting too, you know. On this World Poetry Day, we've been shouting. But never mind your voice. We heard you loud and clear. And it was, as usual, brilliant hearing your perspective on poetry on this World Poetry Day. We appreciate you, my sister. We appreciate you. One thing I must let our listeners know is that you correspond with me every Sunday after the program. You just write a note to say, good work here.
That's what I mean about I'm writing by WhatsApp.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you, my sister. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
I'm looking forward to Ordinary Morning.
I'm going to play it right now. Here we go. Good morning. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the family. Now, in commemoration of the School of the Sacrament, Rastafari University, in commemoration of the 125th anniversary of Ethiopia's defeat of Italy at Adwa, a critical Pan-African victory, and in continuation of the celebration of Rastafari women and their contributions, the School of the Sacrament of Rastafari University honoring Nana Faraiko, Berhane, and Mama Fire. And we're going to be talking this morning to our sister, because I think that's happening. All right, let me just tell you exactly when that. I think that's happening today, you know. All right, but anyway, I've got my sister on the line, so we're going to talk to Sister Donna Marie Beresford, who is joining me on the line from Washington, D.C., I think. Good morning, Dina Marie Beresford. How are you doing, my sister?
Hey, blessed love.
Greetings.
Blessed love.
Greetings.
Sister Kabu, greetings. Yes,
Yeah.
this is Sister Waletti.
Sister
Dana
Waletti.
Marie is the other name. But yeah,
Oh.
Sister Waletti. Blessings.
Yes, Sister Waletti, and I should say Sister Waletti. And know that
Yes,
because you know Shamara, I know myself. Blame Shamara.
Yes, true. Yes, thanks.
All right. So it's good to talk to you again on this important occasion, though, because this is going to be the honoring of Rastafari warrior queens, Nana Faraika and Mama Fire. Before you go into that, though, talk to us a little bit about the School of the Sacrament of Rastafari University. What exactly is that? I know we have mentioned that time and time again in the space, but haven't stopped to talk a little bit about it.
Yes, well, we give thanks for the moment, Sister Kabul. Give thanks for having Eye on the Ice program once more. The School of the Sacrament, Rastafari University, or called by the acronym of SOSA Crew, is a platform that is being cultivated to really support and strengthen the works of Rastafari within the movement. Everything from cannabis, the holy, and I hold a sacrament, to the Jerusalem schoolroom, which is the free irit reasoning of the Rastafari Sabbath school vibration, and also the academic pieces, the I story or the history of the movement, the trajectory for the movement, repatriation, all things Rastafari will be a part of the curricula for the School of the Sacrament. Rastafari University is currently being cultivated with hopes of a official launch, or actually opening sometime in the mid to late summer.
All right. And you've been doing a series of webinars, pretty informative too, I might add, and I think I've gone to all of them. And they're really, really pretty informative. And here is another one, but this time this one is honoring the Rastafari warrior queens. The queens who are being honored, talk to us about the event and those queens who will be honored today.
Yes, give thanks. So the event is today. It will be 3 p.m. Jamaica time to 5 p.m., maybe a little longer. U.S. time, or at least New York time, Maryland time, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm going to just say the Zoom ID link and also the Sosa Crew Facebook live stream. So the Zoom link is 915-498-8540, and I'll repeat that again, before I see you. So I and I are honoring today in the Irit, or in the spirit of Empress Tai Tu, the warrior empress, a title that she would have probably cultivated long before the Battle of Ottawa. But the warrior empress of Ethiopia that side by side with Emperor Menelik secured the victory and safeguard Ethiopia's sovereignty. I and I are honoring two of I ancient matriarchs within the Rastafari movement. Firstly, I and I are honoring and calling attention to Nana Faraka Berhan, or Nana Faraka Berhani, who could very well be the most senior Rastafari matriarch, at least in this region, if not globally. I and I will honor her work. She has a catalog or a body of work that spans more than 6 decades. Coming forward on this earth just post-coronation in the later 1930s. She really has a global reach as a journalist, as an author. Just an amazing story to share with the Rastafari family. So I and I give thanks to be able to sit at her feet and give her flowers in this moment.
Certainly deserving, Nana Faraika. You mentioned her as a journalist, which is an aspect of her complexities. Because she has so much to her that we do not talk about enough, which is that side of her, which is that journalistic side of her. I remember when Barack Obama was being inaugurated that first time. And we were, there are so many Jamaicans who had gone into D.C. to watch the coronation, to be a part of it. And we wanted someone in the house there on the ground. And Mama Farika is a person we reached out to. And she reported back to IRI FM on the coronation. This is, I thought I'd mention that as a journalist, because she is a journalist. I mean, so much is known about her, I think, to some extent of the Rastafari activism and so on. But that journalistic side of her sometimes gets played down. And also you mentioned as a writer, because she was writing a long time, even writing for radio here in Jamaica.
Writing. She's prolific.
Yes,
she is prolific as a writer. Boxes and boxes and boxes of archives.
Yes.
And as a librarian, I mean, the wealth of information, the wealth of resource and research that Nana Farika brings, today's program will barely scratch the surface.
And
will barely scratch the surface.
And she has touched so many lives. I'd really want to be a part of this because I just to be in the space when she's being honored, she's touched so many lives. And her even her own blood family. For listeners to this program, we probably should mention Beverly Hamilton, and let's recall her to the space at this time, the strong Garveyite in Jamaica who insisted that we celebrate African every single day, really, that has to do with our African history. But she insisted that we celebrated some of those special days, and she's a sister. She's transcended, but she's a sister of Nana Farika. Then we have Professor Dr. Hamilton Taylor, who has been in this space also. Just so our listeners know who we're talking about when we talk about Nana Farika, really, this is deserving. I want to congratulate a school of a Sacramento Rastafari University to identify and to honor, to call attention to the work of Nana Farika. But you're honoring two women, two sisters, two warrior queens, and the other one is.
Yes, we give thanks. We are also honoring the great Pearline Wolf, Mama Fire. Yes, and I say Pearline Wolf because I want to call attention to her government surname or to her birth name Wolf, coming from the loins of David Wolf, the niece of Papa Solomon Wolf.
Yes.
I mean, vanguards within the Rastafari movement.
Seriously.
Mama Fire defied science many years ago as a cancer survivor when she shook medicine and was restored, full restoration. So yes, we truly sit at her feet. She has a lot of information to share. She was part of the early movement of Rastafari that helped to shape the current trajectory that I battle today within the Liberty. So we also sit at her feet. This is a monumental event, and we really, really look forward to.
Such a humble sister, Mama Fire, who, but that she's an integral part of Rastafari and the Pan-African movement in Jamaica. She's always on the phone. I must tell you this. She supports you behind the scene. So when you don't hear her up front, she's on the phone. One of the mothers of this program, Mama Fire. I think this is. I know you're doing this in March, and we're talking about Women's History Month. But outside of all of that, these are two timely honors that I think are rightly bestowed on two warrior queens that are really deserving of this honor. So my respect to you, and congratulations to Mama Fire and to Nana Farika.
Yes, we give thanks, Sister Kabul.
So this is happening today?
Yes.
Right.
It's today. 3 p.m. Jamaica time, 4 p.m. U.S. time.
Right. And so that persons can participate in this. What format will it take?
It will be via Zoom. There will be some testimonies that will be given from family members, associates, close friends, ones and ones who have shared space with these two mighty matriarchs. They will give 3 to 5 minute presentations about the works that they have witnessed coming from these matriarchs. There will also be moments when Mama Faya and Nana Faraika will speak and share their own experiences with the gathering and with the audience. It will all be framed. It will all be framed in the context of the warrior Irit of Empress Taitu, and I will do that presentation at the onset of the program.
Brilliant. And so once again, and the presenters will include. What those persons?
Yes, the presenters will include and my brother, right from Jamaica there, Brother Miguel Lawn, Esquire. He will give a presentation. I will give a presentation on Empress Taitu and small bits and pieces on the two matriarchs. And then we will have the testimonies and the attributes, some other ones that are connected to the family.
I love the sound of this. Really brilliant work from the School of the Sacrament of Rastafari University. I keep saying it all out so that because I think we need that in our space, in our heads. So my sister, thank you. Great works that you continue to do. By the way, just our listeners, remember that you're the author of Garage, the story of a Walla princess, Yashima Bet Ali Abed Jafar. Brilliant book. And I think we've repeated that interview twice already since we've done it with you. Yeah. Thank you, my sister. And, great work. I really, really love the work that you're doing and that you're about to do later on this afternoon in honoring these two warrior queens.
Yes, we give thanks, Sister Tapu. Give thanks to the Rastafari family. Join the Zoom ID link, 915-498-8540, or look live on Facebook streaming at Sosa Crew edu, and that is SOSACRU/Facebook. All eyes and glory unto Kamawi Haile Selassie I and Empress Nene Asfa. Give thanks, Sister Tabu, for the moment.
And to you too, my sister Wallati. Say hi to the family.
Yes, I will. Blessings.
Today is the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. It's being observed as such, and it's against the background of the Sharpville Massacre. You might not be making that connection, but the Sharpville Massacre was on March 21, 1960, in the black township of Sharpville in South Africa, in which the police fired on a crowd of African people, black people, killing some 250 of them, wounding some 250 of them. It was one of the first and the most violent demonstrations against apartheid in South Africa. So today, the theme for International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination 2021 is Youth Standing Up Against Racism. The hashtag which is being used is #FightRacism. The United Nations observing March 21 as International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. The day, they say, aims to raise awareness about equality and marks as an initiative to end all forms of racism and racial discrimination, and calls on all sections of society to stand up against intolerant attitudes. In the meantime, the U.S. and China are sparring over racism at the United Nations. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations has clashed with her Chinese counterpart when she described her own experience with racism as a challenge, but said for millions of people, countries like China and Myanmar, it was deadly. There's also something that we're watching, the British government, Boris Johnson, made this historic speech last week, last week, because today is the first day of this week, and where he talked about increasing the nuclear armament, increasing the nuclear capabilities in the United Kingdom. There has been not a squeak out of anybody. You know whom I mean by anybody. If Iran ever make that mistake, or South Africa ever make that mistake, because South Africa was made to give up its nuclear armament right after Nelson Mandela was installed as president. One of the first things, one of the agreements, was that South Africa would give up its nuclear armament, and they did. So South Africa have opened their mouth now about nuclear weapons. But Britain came out, big discussion, announcement in Parliament, and nobody has said a word about it. So Israel have, their nuclear weaponry. Russia has the most nuclear weapons in the world. America is running a fast second. Then you have Israel, and you have Britain saying that they're increasing theirs. And then at the same time, you have a Cold War that has been gone into another gear with the U.S. President Biden now calling the Russian president a killer, which they do, but he's saying it out loud. And Putin is saying to him, well, come call me, that's not public. Come now. Come, you want to come? Come now. That's basically what Putin has said. And he also said, it takes one to know the other. That is how Putin has responded. And then you have this other war of words happening between China and the U.S. at the same time, with Blinken, that's the U.S. Secretary of State, going into this meeting and saying all kinds of things about China and Hong Kong and so on and so forth, and China is not taking it sitting down. So they are all ramping up their war of words. At the same time, they're ramping up their nuclear weapons. At the same time, they have us locked down so that we can't protest them BS. Or ramp up our thing too. But the Prime Minister of Jamaica is going to talk this evening, and one of the things that he has said is that, I know it's a poor segue, but believe me, it's intentional. So go back and listen to the thing and see how I segue. And one of the things that he has said is that tougher measures re-COVID lockdown are going to come. And they're forcing us into these tougher measures so that we will just all fall over ourselves to take the vaccines. And the media in Jamaica is covering the missing vial of 10 vaccines. And people are dying like crazy. It's a wild, wild west, but we are concerned about a vial of vaccines that's missing. And it's leading the news. It's leading every single station newscast that a vial of vaccine is gone missing. It is preemptive programming. There's nothing to it and nothing about it. Who cares if a vial of vaccine goes missing? It's not news. The minute you say this and you move on, why is that leading the news as opposed to the hundreds that are being killed? They're trying to distract us with a missing vial of vaccine, while our people are dying in the streets in all kinds of ways and for all kinds of reasons, and nothing is being done about it. And they say that's the private sector. They have confidence in the minister, not the maybe the minister too, but they spoke specifically to the commissioner of police and the minister of security in Jamaica is also the deputy prime minister, and he's Chinese. And it's all connected back to the nuclear weapons in Britain. I know, I sound mad, but you check it. Let's do a little jig. We'll say what we say and we don't take it back. I could just go and bubble to that chicken here. Good morning. How are you doing? Okay, and it's International Day International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. So we need a poem to tie everything together because it's World Poetry Day. Giving you some time to just jig it out. You want to bubble to this one? Okay, I can stop talk for a while and give you a little bit of it. Okay, I want you all to get up and just bubble to this one. All right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And this is a part of the program that I'm really, really, really looking forward to, because we're going to be announcing the winners of the essay quiz. You have written your essays, you've submitted them, they have been read and looked at and looked over again, and here we are. Now we have the winners, and we have the winners in more ways than one, because we're going to speak to Yvonne Brown, attorney at law, and iNation, and we're going to talk about just the essays that came in and, the quality and the experience of reading and marking and grading and so on, and how that was done. And then we're going to have online the winners, right? And you'll hear the announcements from from Yvonne, who is coming on. Just to remind you that the essay quiz, this was a brainchild of our sister friend, attorney at law, Yvonne Brown. And it ran for the month of February and for most of March. And then here we are now with the announcement. So I go to the phone lines where Yvonne Brown and iNation are standing by. Good morning, Yvonne. Good morning, iNation. Greetings.
Good morning and greetings.
Yvonne, I'm very excited about this because, so we had the conversation and it became reality, and the essays are in and they were read and they're marked, and now the announcement is about to be made. At some point after all of this, well, as a matter of fact, in the initial just getting this off the ground, you thought immediately that somebody who should be involved in this is iNation. So we want to talk about, just go back a little bit and talk about that process of getting this off the ground and why.
Yes. So God willing, this month I will reach 60. And so I was reflecting back on the things that were important to me in my childhood, the things that influenced me, and how important an understanding of my African culture and my African history was to my life goals and how I was able to achieve those. It was interesting, actually, this morning when you were reporting on the death of the Pan-Africanist president in
Tanzania.
Mm-hmm. Because when I was a young girl, my mother, Olive Brown, reminded me of the injustice of the killing of Patrice Lumumba. And I mention that because the Pan-Africanists, those who have done great work, even though their lives may have been cut short, their work lives on. So that's why knowing your history is so important, and making those connections and not forgetting how our culture and our history has been under attack. So that was the background, and I'm delighted to say that we had a very strong pool of entrance to the essay writing competition, and I was delighted that iNation was able to judge with me. We were roughly on the same page, but through discussion we reached the three top contestants, so to speak.
All right, we're going to talk about them in a little while. iNation, what was the experience like for you? Because you were doing two things. You were sourcing the books and you were reading and judging the essays.
Well, give thanks, Cabo. Give thanks, Sister Yvonne, as well, Well, I must say it was a pretty exciting vibe for me, Yeah, I was pretty excited about the whole thing, I was anxious to get the essays to read and, to gauge the mind of the youth where they are now,
Yes.
So, I welcome it a lot, I enjoy doing it,
Right. And how were they graded, Yvonne? And I know you are very meticulous in these things. I know you'd have because you first of all, what was set out is what was supposed to be done in terms of developing the essay. So what was required and how were they graded?
Yes. So the theme of the essay was for the young person to address why understanding your history and your culture will equip you with the tools to succeed in your life journey. And I agreed with iNation that we would judge the essays using 3 criteria. The first was content, actually what was on the written page. The second was how substantial was it? Was it superficial? Did they develop their argument? Did they make a proposition, develop it or not? And then thirdly, creativity. And in fact, that was the one that was most exciting. And I'm sure iNation will agree with me, because the 3 top essay submissions, all of the young people had a dramatic depiction of what they considered to be African history. So there were words, there were pictures, and there were images. Images of great people in the past. And our top winner, when you hear her essay, you'll hear her refer to the person in the past who influenced their life.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to hearing from the winners. They'll be reading shortly. Remind us, Sister Yvonne, what the gifts are.
Yes. So all of the 3 top-placed essayists will receive 4 books. The books are, firstly, Lesson for African People by Marcus Garvey. Secondly, The Rainmaker's Mistake by Erna Brodber. The third, Malcolm X, The Man and His Times by John Henry Clark. And the fourth, The Groundings with My Brothers by Walter Rodney. And then in addition to those 4 great books, there were financial rewards. And Kyla...
Go right ahead as if you didn't.
The top winner has received $30,000 Jamaican dollars.
Yes.
Hitting the bank account either Friday or Monday. And 2 second place essay writers have also received $20,000 Jamaican dollars, and that will have hit their accounts on Friday or Monday.
Your thoughts about the essays, iNation? What do you think about the essays?
Well, to be truthful, I was expecting a much more, but, but what I get from all of them, I can sense that all of them realize that without their African history and culture, their life weren't complete. They were lacking a big part of their, the empowerment. That's what I get from most of them, all of them,
All right.
And the first one, the one that's become the winner, Akela, what I like with her, she's like encompass everything. The 2 second place winner, Ariana.
But hang on, because we have not announced it. Let me just go back to Yvonne, because this is getting out of hand. Okay. Yvonne, could you please make the announcement of the winners, please? Because I noticed something interesting happened.
Okay. So let me start with the second place winners. And I'm really proud of their work, and particularly proud because they both reside in a part of the country that my mother and grew up in. So in Manchester, my parents, or my mother anyway, was raised in a little place called Day, which is near to Porus in the parish of Manchester. And so our 2 second place winners, the first is Ariana Dunbar. That's Ariana Dunbar. She's 16 years old, and she attends the Belfield High School in Manchester. Congratulations to
Ariana. Congratulations. Great work. Yeah.
The second joint place winner is Kevin A. Bernard. Kevin A. is age 17 years, and he also attends Belfield High School in Manchester. So congratulations to
Kevin A. Yes.
And now to our first placed essayist, and this is Kyla Angus.
Congratulations, Kyla. Well done, well done, well done. And how old is Kyla?
Kyla is
What's it?
14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
In St. James.
Okay.
The essay was wonderful. The dramatic presentation was creative, and as you'll hear in due course, deep in substance.
All right. We're going to have them online. Once again, congratulations to Kyla Angus, 14 years old, from Mount Alvernia High. And I noticed you had 2 second places.
Yes, because when we undertook the process of judging, Ariana and Kavane tied. So we allocated marks out of 10 for substance, creativity, content, and they tied. So because of that, we felt that rather than have a first, second, and third, become second placed winners.
Okay, so we have 2 second place winners. This is beautiful. So we have first place, Kyla Angus. Second place is Ariana Dunbar and Kavanaugh Bernard. Ariana is 16, Kavanaugh is 17, and both are from Manchester. Wow. So we're going to hear from them. I just want to thank you so much, both of you, Yvonne. Thank you so much for this and to do this in your 60th year, by the way. Happy solar return when it comes, which I know is just a few days from now. So happy solar return to you, Yvonne. And I'd really, really appreciate you and the work that you continue to do for the Pan-African community. Thank you so much, iNation, for sourcing the books, for being a judge, and just for being a part of this experience. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Yvonne and iNation. And on this World Poetry Day, we're talking about writing. We're talking about the essay quiz that we had running for all of Black History Month, the Running African Black History Month essay quiz. And you've heard about the winners. We're going to be hearing from the 2 second place winners, Ariana and Kavanaugh, in a little while. And then right after that, Kayla will read her winning essay. Remember, we said 200 and not less than 250 words. We are inside of South Africa at the minute. We are just going to South Africa right now by music, because today, of course, represents the anniversary, March 21, 1960, of the Sharpville Massacre. It's out of a Sharpville Massacre that the United Nations named today International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination.
And many's the family who died in the night.
Bottom line is that the fight and the struggle for land continues. I hear the Prime Minister of Jamaica talking about struggle as if he thinks that it's a joke. And he needs to apologize to the people of Jamaica, and no technicality can get him off this. You know, he struggles every day. Struggle with what? Struggle with what? His conscience? Struggling with your conscience is not the same thing as struggling to find food for your baby or your babies, as struggling to find money to buy a tin of mackerel or a tin of sardine, because that's where it's at, or chicken tips, because that's what people are struggling to buy now in Jamaica. Them selling some things in the Chinese shops called chicken tips. Them cut off a tip off of the chicken wing and then put a whole heap of them in our bag. And that's what people are struggling to buy.
He looked and he said, this is God's own country.
So as we recall the Sharpville Massacre, we're recalling the struggles of African people everywhere. We're joined on the phone lines now by our two young people, Ariana and Kavani. Good morning, Ariana. Good morning, Kavani.
Good morning.
Hi, you're bright and chirpy. You've been up long time, or you just wake up?
No, I've been up for quite some time now.
Okay, you're sounding really bright and chubby. Kevoni, did you wake up long time? You're 17 years old. You wake up and feed a dog already?
Yes.
You have a dog?
No, not really.
You do?
No, not really.
Oh, not really. All right. So you're 17 years old, and Ariana, you're 16 years old. How did you, Ariana, learn about the essay quiz?
Well, it was actually our teacher, both Kevon and I, our teacher who listens to this program, and she mentioned it to us and, made us aware of it.
Brilliant. What's your teacher's name?
Mrs. McCoy Harriet.
Mrs. McCoy Harriet, thank you so much for listening in and for reaching out to the young people. Really appreciate you for that. So, Kevoni, when you heard about the essay quiz and what the title was, what was your first thought?
Well, I was thinking about where would I even start.
Yeah.
Which my teacher helped me. She guided me as I wrote the essay. YouTube videos, articles,
yes.
The activities that I should research to get a better understanding of what I was actually doing.
And what was your research like, Ariana? What did you do?
Well, I listened to various interviews with I listened to various interviews as well as, reading articles. And as Kevon had mentioned, my teacher would have guided me somewhat.
And at the end of the day, when you heard that you both tied, because those who, both Yvonne and I Nation who were judging, I don't think that they realized how you came to know about the essay and that you were out of the same place. But here you are, you tied. How did you feel about that you tied for second place? Kevon?
I was shocked that I even came second place. It's nice. And I didn't really understand that by second joint, so I was surprised that two of us came second.
Yes. How did you feel about that, Ariana, when you heard that you tied with Kevon?
There was a lot of feelings. I was excited. I was nervous. Just a lot of thoughts.
All right. I want to spend just a minute talking about the essay, both of your essay. You're not going to read your essays today, but I just wanted you to tell me, after writing, what did you learn? What did you come away with? You want to start, Kevon?
Yes, I will write. When I was writing this essay at the end, I learned how actually understanding my culture, my history and culture, but by equipping me with the tool that I need to succeed in life. So one of the most important one is knowledge. If I can gather my knowledge about my history and culture, it can positively impact my generation.
Brilliant. We're glad that is what you came away with. What about you, Ariana?
Well, by the end of this essay, I don't know, it was really a lot. I am grateful for the fact that I got to write this essay because this has opened a lot of new doors for me. I learned a lot of things that I haven't before. And it's really interesting, and, it has encouraged me to do more research on, Black culture and history.
I'm very, very happy about that for both of you. Once again, congratulations. And you've won your texts and also your cash prize. And from here, we look forward to hearing more from you. We have a book club, which we can talk to you about later on. And we invite you to become a part of the Africa Forum Book Club. As we read, we talk to the authors and we talk to each other. And this is something that you will love. All right. Thanks again to you both, and congratulations to both of you, and thanks to your teacher.
Thank you. Actually, before I leave, I'd actually like to speak to you off air, if that's okay.
All right. Okay. So hang up, and I'll call you right back because I have your number. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you to Ariana Dunbar, and she's 16 years old, and to Kevon Bernard, 17 years old. They're both from Manchester. Interestingly, they're from the same high school. Their teacher heard about the essay on this program spoke to them, and they both entered, and see what happened. They tied. They tied. I mean, what's the likelihood of that? That is synchronicity. And our first place winner is Kayla Akila Angus. She is 14 years old. She's from St. James and she attends the Mount Alvernia High School. We'll be hearing from her. Well, just a quick note before we go to our essay winner. Angela Davis, the Angela Davis, will be speaking at giving the Walter Rodney lecture today at 12:30 Jamaica time. Let me tell you about that. It's the Walter Rodney Foundation at the Atlanta University Center, Robert Woodruff Library, presenting the Angela Davis, giving the keynote address today, Sunday, March 21. This will be a virtual conference. It's Zoom. It's going to be on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. And so the Walter Rodney, okay, you have to register, by the way. Walter Rodney Foundation at gmail.com. Eventbrite. So let me see if I can get you the password. I'm not sure that I'll be able to get you the Zoom link. But why don't you go to Facebook today to the Walter Rodney Foundation. The Walter Rodney Foundation is on Facebook, and they will, I'm sure you'll be able to get the information there. Go to YouTube, Walter Rodney Foundation. It's a virtual conference. It's today. It starts at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So it's starting in a little while. So, all right, check that out. All right, Angela Davis will be giving the keynote address. All right, let's go to the phone lines where our essay winner, Kayla Akila Angus, is standing by. Kayla, good morning.
Good morning. Greetings.
Hi. Well, greetings to you. Are you sure you're 14? You're sounding much older than 14.
Yes, I'm 14 years of age.
You're 14 years of age. And do you want to be a lawyer, a radio announcer, somebody who speaks in another side? I'm going there, because you sound like you're used to radio.
Well, actually, I'm thinking about doing an occupation with a musical background, because I come from a musical family background.
Okay, tell me about your family.
Well, my father, I got the music thing kind of from my father. Right. My father actually plays for Barry Commons.
No, that explains it. Okay, great. So you're thinking of going into the music yourself?
Yes.
Right. That must be what a way. Wow. Listen, we almost got you and your 14-year-old father playing for Barry Hammond. That's a big deal. It sounds really good. And how long has he been playing for Barry Hammond, your dad?
About...
Many years?
20 years.
Long before you were born?
Yes.
Yeah. And what does he play? What does he play?
He plays the lead guitar.
Okay. What's your father's name? Now you're telling us. Huh?
My father's name is Robert Angus.
Robert Angus. Good morning, Robert Angus. Yes, your daughter is brilliant. No wonder she won this essay competition. We can literally hear it in her voice. So, how did you hear about the essay quiz, Kayla?
Well, basically, my father told me that on this program, they will be speaking about the Olmec civilization. So I was interested to learn more about it.
Yes.
So when I tuned in, it was at the end, kind of, when I heard it was being advertised by Miss Yvonne Brown, that there was an essay competition, so I was interested to enter.
Oh, brilliant. You came for the program on the Olmec civilization with Professor Wanuko Rashidi, and we announced it there, and so you entered. Wow, brilliant. So, all right, how did you do your research?
Well, basically, I just want to say that I was aware and I knew my most of the knowledge that I expressed through the essay, I knew it before because I was already researching, and I was hungry for my history. I wanted to know my history because obviously, the school system, they don't really teach us our history. So I was already,
Wow.
already searching, I was already seeking out.
And when your heart is hungry for knowledge, you're going to eat it. All right, so listen now. Let me hear from you now. You're going to be reading your essay for us. You are the first place winner. What do you think of the books? I know you haven't received them yet, but I know you've received, or it has been placed into your account, your cash prize. But what do you think of the book titles?
Well, I'm excited because... I want to learn more about Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X. So I'm excited about getting to read the books.
Okay, brilliant. So, Yvonne, we're happy that we made the right choices in the end. All right, Kayla, go right ahead, read your essay. Start with the topic of the essay and go right into reading.
Okay, thank you. Why understanding your history and culture will equip you with the tools to succeed in your life journey. I strongly propose that understanding your history and culture will equip you with the tools to succeed in your life journey. As Maya Angelou stated, if you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. In addition, the great Marcus Garvey also stated, a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. This means that if there is no knowledge or the desire to understand your history, there will be no spiritual growth in self to inspire and to contribute in uplifting and educating the Black nation. And most importantly, if all Black people understood the great history and culture that we possess, with that knowledge, we will unite as Black people and become the greatest and most successful nation again. In order to understand our history and culture in helping us succeed in our life journey, we must first come to a realization that our history did not originate in slavery. We must go way back in time when we were in rulership as kings and queens of Africa and rulers over Europe for 1,000 years during the Dark Ages under the label of Moors. With this understanding, it will already impact us in our life by bolstering our confidence in one's own work. Secondly, the knowledge of the flourishing Black civilizations and empires, for example, the great Olmec civilization and the Mali Empire, which was ruled by the richest man that ever lived, King Mansa Musa, who was a Black man. I believe that this will influence our people to create thriving, independent Black communities. Thirdly, if all Black people understood the history of the outstanding Black inventors, like the traffic light, which was invented by Garrett Morgan, the automatic elevator doors by Alexander Miles, and many more, our people will be motivated to manufacture more inventions. In conclusion, how understanding my history and culture has impacted me in my personal life journey, it has instilled pride in me as a Black person because of the great accomplishments of my ancestors, and has given me the opportunity to empower other Black youth. This is the end of my essay.
I know. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Kayla, you're 14 years old and you have put together a brilliant piece. Let me thank you for doing that. Continue to be the kind of person that you are, thirsty for knowledge about yourself, about your history, because what you have done in this space today is to give all of us hope, all of us, all of us, you have given hope this morning. It's a beautiful piece. I followed you all the way how you developed that. You followed the rules because you were asked to give the proposition, to develop on that, and then to conclude. And you did that at 14 years old. You went all the way to the Olmec, and so it shows how you're learning along the way. You went to the Mali Empire. You pulled for Mansa Musa. I mean, at your age to be pulling for Mansa Musa, I mean, that's brilliant. You would have won. I would have given you first place just for that. So, it was brilliant. Brilliant. Congratulations again. Mount Alvernia High School should be proud of you. Your father, Mr. Robert Angus, must be proud of you. What's your mom's name?
Shelley Angus.
Shelley Angus, you must be proud of your daughter. Go ahead and say hello to anyone you want to say hello to. And once again, brilliant, excellent work. Go ahead and say hi to your friends and family.
Okay, first, I want to give a massive, massive big up to Israel United in Christ. Mm-hmm. Basically, Israel United in Christ is like a movement and an organization that started overseas, and it also has schools and camps all over the world. What the focus about this movement is empowering black people and feeding them with knowledge to uplift us. They basically teach that we black people are from the 12 tribes of Israel, that we are the Israelites and we're the chosen people of God. Mm-hmm. And yes, this organization really impacted me in my life. I learned a lot of things about them. So yes, I wanted to give a shout out to Israel United in Christ.
Okay, brilliant. We're going to look up that organization immediately. All of us want to know that organization. Sounding really great. Kayla, my daughter, please keep in touch. Please be a part of our Africa Forum book club. We'll send that information to you and let us continue to keep in touch. You are brilliant. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Okay, what a beautiful child. I mean, she's 14 years old, just 14. And listen to the essay she wrote about why understanding our history and culture is important, will equip her with the tools to succeed in her life's journey. She lays it out well, you know. She talks about the importance of understanding that her history didn't start with slavery. You go all the way back. And she did. She went Olmec. And she come forward to Mansa Musa. And then she just carried right down to Maya Angelou. You know, I mean, brilliant, brilliant.